Second part, that is we have bilirubin, calcium. Actually they are always traveled by help of plasma protein, so they are called as plasma bound. Even fatty acids, many drugs and thyroid hormones T3 T4, so all these are bound with the plasma, so they won't filter. All the plasma bound components also can't pass by the filtrate of GFR, because you can understand, as the plasma protein won't filter, even the plasma protein bound substances also can't filter by a basement membrane and the filtration membrane. So all electrolytes like cations and anions, sodium, potassium, ionized calcium, magnesium, chlorine, bicarbonate, water, metabolic waste products, urea, creatinine, metabolites like glucose, amino acids, organic acid, ketone bodies, so all this can easily filtrate from our glomerular filtration membrane. And even the low molecular weight proteins like insulin, hemoglobin, even they can filter. But hemoglobin is actually hemoglobin alone is a toxic material for our kidneys. So that is the reason why hemoglobin is bound inside the RBC, so that it will not cause any toxic nature to kidneys. And gluconeogenesis also can be done by kidneys whenever there is low glucose in our body. Formation of glucose by means of amino acids. And non-natural substances like insulin, para-aminohippuric acid, all these are the natural substance. Here is not insulin, it's inulin. Inulin and para-aminohippuric acid, these are mainly used for the measurement of GFR. So in the measurement of GFR, it is used to, here we use inulin. Inulin is an exogenous substance which is injected intravenously, and it's non-toxic, no plasma protein bonding, small molecule, no change. It is freely filtered. It is neither absorbed or nor secreted, so that the how much amount of inulin we send it by plasma membrane, it will easily pass and it will get filtered, and it is coming out as urine. So finally it appears in urine. So the filtered load of inulin is equal to the urinary excretory load of inulin. So 1 ml of blood, 1 milligrams of inulin. It depends on the plasma concentration of inulin. So the plasma concentration of inulin into the GFR is equal to the urine concentration of inulin into the volume. So by this we can get a GFR formula like this: urine concentration of inulin into the volume of urine divided by the plasma concentration of inulin. So the GFR, you know, it's normally 120 into the volume of urine. Here we have seen 1 milliliter, and the plasma concentration of inulin is 1 milligrams. So by doing this we get 1 GFR of 120 milliliter per minute. So by this we can find out with a live proof, with the use of inulin we can measure the GFR, it is 120. So next, second example is, here we have plasma concentration of 2 milligrams and urine volume of 1 milliliter and urine of like 120 milligrams. So here we will try again you can find out. So if we give 2 milligrams of inulin, then it would be 60, because as we are giving now 2 milligrams, it will come into 60 milliliter per minute. So the volume of urine is same and the urine concentration is also same, but here the plasma concentration is changing to 2, as the plasma concentration has changed, so the GFR is reduced to half. So normally present in our blood, so these are the inulin, these are all the extragenous substances. So to measure the GFR, we have normally in our blood, that is creatinine, which is used to measure the GFR. Ideally we can use inulin, endogenously we can use a creatinine. So next, coming to auto regulation of GFR of renal blood. So normally conventional wisdom says if systemic blood pressure increases, renal blood flow increases, and even the GFR increases, so the urine output also increases. So if the blood pressure changes to 70 to 170, the GFR remains stable. In transplanted kidney also GFR stable if blood changes. So initially GFR increase more filtered forms for a short time, whereas in proximal cannulated tubule, the ascending loop of Henle, that is the sodium chloride, is reabsorbed. What we are saying, initially GFR is increased, that is more filtrate forms for a short time. But in PCT, the ascending loop of Henle, the sodium chloride is reabsorbed, but as flow is fast, they cannot absorb the sodium chloride efficiently. So NaCl also increases in fluid. But macula densa, which is proximal to distal cannulated tubule, is sensitive to sodium chloride. So they secrete the products which induce efferent arterial constriction. So the pressure of inflow decreases. So remember, whenever there is higher GFR means there is higher sodium chloride, so it is sensed by the macula densa. So because of this, now the efferent arteriole constricted means low blood flow, so the pressure of inflow decreases, so indirectly control GFR, and they reduce the production of renin, so angiotensin 2 is decreased. If angiotensin 2 is decreased, then the efferent arteriole will dilate. If the efferent arteriole will dilate, means there is low blood pressure, so that it will also in turn decrease the GFR. So this is how the GFR is decreased whenever there is very much higher GFR. When the blood pressure is very high, GFR is very high, so the macula densa it will find out that there is more NaCl. As there is more sodium and chloride, they will try to reduce the renin production, and also they will constrict the efferent arterioles, and they will dilate the efferent arterioles so that they can reduce the GFR. Now we also have second type of process, that is myogenic mechanism. Here what happens is that efferent arteriole and smooth muscles around it is stretched due to whenever. So not only whenever the GFR is high, the macula densa activates, even the stretch muscles, the smooth muscles of efferent arteriole get stretched, so that they will also, what they will do, let us see. So this smooth muscle have stretch sensitive calcium channels, and they get stimulated. So calcium influx takes place, and by calmodulin system they contract the arteriole, preventing the overflow to glomeruli. So because of contraction they will constrict. So whenever they constrict, there is reduced blood flow, so that they will prevent the overflow to the glomeruli. So if the blood pressure is low, then the efferent arterioles they will constrict. So because of this, now the blood flow decreases. So initially the GFR decreases, movement decreases. Now NaCl absorption by PCT and the ascending loop of Henle increases. So NaCl reaching the macula densa will decrease, and it will dilate. So actually here what happened whenever there is low blood pressure. So we are taking another example. Before we are seeing what happens when the blood pressure is high, and now we are seeing if the blood pressure is low. Before that we have said the smooth muscles of stretch sense to calcium, so they lead to contraction of arteriole, preventing the overflow. So whenever the efferent arteriole constricted, there is low blood flow, like that. Even by myogenic system this mechanism goes on. Now let us see the opposite. Whenever there is low blood flow, what happens? So whenever there is low blood flow, the blood passing to the efferent arteriole decreases. So because of the renal pressure decreases, so initially as the GFR is decreased, the NaCl which is going to the macula densa also will be low. As there is sense, the macula densa now tries to dilate the efferent arteriole. As it is dilating efferent arteriole, there is more blood flow, thereby increasing the GFR, and also it will lead to increase in renin production. So because of more renin, it will activate on angiotensin 2 receptors which are present on efferent arterioles. So because of this, the efferent arterioles will constrict. So because of constriction of efferent arterioles, there is an increase in blood pressure in the efferent arteriole. Also because of increase in blood pressure towards the efferent arteriole, it will lead to increase in glomerular filtration rate. So by the two sides we can see there is increase in glomerular filtration rate. So the same thing which we have discussed. So whenever there is decrease in glomerular filtration rate, they will increase it. So whenever there is high glomerular filtration rate, they will decrease it. So by this you can understand that it is regulating the glomerular filtration. So this mechanism is called tubuloglomerular balance, because from the tubules in the DCT, that is a distal convoluted tubule, it is a tubule. From the tubule by means of macula densa, the stimulus is coming to regulate the glomerulus. So this is called tubuloglomerulus balance. So we will take different examples. If eating more meat, more amino acid is coming to the blood. So more amino acid in the renal tube and PCT absorb more amino acid. Then it is absorbed and co-transported by sodium. So because of this, the sodium and amino acids both are co-transported into the cells. So because of this, there is low sodium chloride in the tubule. So as there is low sodium chloride, now the GFR increases. So when a person eats lot of meat, their GFR increases, which help to remove the metabolic waste from the body. And next example, when more glucose, then glucose also undergoes co-transport by sodium. So here also same problem. So whenever a person is taking more amino acids or more glucose, because the glucose and amino acid actually co-transport by means of sodium, so sodium and chloride also decrease in the lumen. So because of this, the macula densa will try to increase the glomerular filtration rate. So next, mercuric toxicity, tetracycline PCT damage. So NaCl is not reabsorbed in this case in any toxic conditions. So when there is more NaCl, now what does our macula densa does is it decreases the GFR. So by this now we can easily understand the concepts. So by this we completed this chapter. Next we'll go on to the tubular processing of glomerular filtrate.